there. I know it's been a while. It's been like, I don't know, 2 months, 1 month since I posted. Life has been lifing, but here we are. I'm back. So, how are you doing? What have you been up to? And as we all know, this is my favorite season, and I'm really excited to be back right now. I have a lot of ideas, and I also have a couple of patterns that I would like to share with you. If you're interested in a winter patterns video, tell me in the comment section, and I'll definitely do that. But today's business, as you saw in the thumbnail and on the title, today I'm going to be making a trench coat out of a scarf. Last year we did one out of a blanket, and it turned out so amazing, and I'm hoping this one turns out just as amazing or even better than that one. I'm really excited. So this right here is the scarf that I'm using. It's more of a blanket, a throw blanket, than a scarf, but I found it in the scarf section, so it's a scarf to me. So without so much talking, let's get to the drafting. But before that, if you love fashion, sewing, knitting, crochet, and everything that makes clothes, this is the right place for you. So please consider subscribing, giving this video a thumbs up, and also sharing it with a friend. And let's get to the video. Okay, so I've laid my scarf flat on the table and I folded it in half, and I'm first going to be cutting the sleeve part, the part that I'm going to use for the sleeves, and the one that I'll be using for pockets if I need pockets later, or maybe a tie at the end. So I want my sleeves to be around 25 inches, and the best thing of this scarf is that it's hemmed, so I do not have to hem at the end. So I'm only going to be measuring 26 inches all across and cut that. So I've separated this piece and this piece. This is going to be my main body piece, and this is going to be my sleeves and extra pieces piece. So let me put this aside and I will start working on this one. So this right here is the piece that I want to use for my body, and for reference purposes, it measures 34.5 inches by around 26 inches, and it's folded in half. So what I want to do, I want the length to be striped downwards, or the stripes to be vertical, if you know what I mean. And then this is what is going to be my horizontal measurements. So I'm now going to start making those. So I'm going to measure the biggest part of my body, which is my hips, and my hips are around 44 inches, which means in half that is around 22. And I want my back, that is my center back, not to be on fold, and I want to use this edge right here that is already finished as my center front. So this is going to be my center front. Measure my 22 inches plus seam allowance, which is going to, let's just say it's going to take the entire 26 inches because I also want it to overlap at the front. So I'm going to measure around 14 inches, and right there is where I'm going to be folding my piece. Once it's folded, you notice that the front is a bit bigger than the back, and that is what I want because I want the overlap to be at the front, and the overlap is around 3 inches. So I'm going to be measuring that and putting that out of the way, and from here is where I'm now going to start making my measurements. So I'm going to start drafting just like a normal bodice block, whereby I have my half an inch seam allowance, and then I measure my 3 inches for my front bodice and my 1.5 inches for my back bodice, and then from that point I measure 3 inches as well. This is where my neckline ends for both the back and the front. draw in my curves, and then from there I'm going to be measuring 4 inches for the rest of my shoulder. So that is where my shoulder is going to be. Drop that by around 1 inch, and then I'm going to draw a slanted line for my shoulder, and that is where my shoulder point is going to be. Now let me measure my horizontal measurements, that is my shoulder to my bust, which is around 10 inches. From my shoulder to my waist, that is around 15.5 inches, and then my waist to my hips, that is around 8.5, and my full length is going to be the entire measurement, which is 34. And as I said, the best thing about this is that I'm not going to be hemming, it's already pre-hemmed. So I'm now going to feed in my measurement for my bust, waist, and my hips, and I want this to be a baggy fit, so I'm going to be adding some ease. My bust is usually 38 inches. I divide that by 4, I get around 9.5 plus 1.5 inch ease and 0.5 inch seam allowance, which means I'm going to add a total of 2 inches. My waist is usually 32 inches divided by 4, that gives me 8 plus 2 inches, giving me 10 inches. This just gives me a bit of shaping at the waist, and it's just not a whole big rectangle. And then for my hips is 44, that gives, it's 42 divided by 4, that gives me 10.5 plus 2 inches, that gives me 12.5, and that is the measurement I have there. So now I'm going to be joining my bust to my waist to my hips, and my hips, as from the hips to my full length, is a straight line. So this is the shape that I have. So far so good. To draw in my armhole, I'm going to raise from my bust point, I'm going to raise by 0.5 inches, and that is where my armhole point is going to be. And then from the shoulder, I draw in my armhole curve, join my armhole curve to my bust, and this is the shape that I end up with. And I'm going to just cut everything out, making sure that I have this overlap right here on the front. Okay, so changed my mind, decided that I do not want to seam at the center back, and I did the exact same way I just showed you, cut everything out, and I have my 3 pattern pieces for this. So I have this entire back piece that is just going to be like that, and then I have these 2 front pieces. And as I said, I wanted this edge to be my center front, and I wanted an overlap, so that is going to be there. And I have my side seams, my armhole, and my shoulder seam, and as you can see, my neck piece is extended. So now the only thing that is left is cutting out the sleeves and deciding whether I want pockets, and then deciding whether I have enough fabric to make the ties. I really want to have the ties, but if I do not have enough fabrics, I will just have to have a closure. But before that, let's cut out the sleeves so that we can get to sewing. This is the fabric that I have left over, and from this, I want to get sleeves, pockets, and ties. So for my armhole is 10 inches, which means one sleeve needs to be 20 inches. So that is what I'm going to be marking, which is around this line right here. So at this line is where I'm going to cut out my sleeves at, so that once I fold them like this, I will have the front piece and I will have the back piece. So I'm going to be cutting, I do not want as boxy sleeves as much, I want them to be a little bit tapered, and that is why I'm going to create a piece the bottom, this is my wrist measurement, which is around 8 inches, but I do not want it to be this tight, so I'm going to be measuring around 5.5 inches, so that I have 5 inches with my measurement, and then 0.5 inch for similar ones. And this measurement right here is what I'm going to be joining to the top. I want it to just be slanted line and not much thought off. And also at this point, I'm just going to leave it straight. I'm not going to curve it and everything, because I want it to look more like a cardigan, a trench coat, a mixture of the two. So I'm just going to make a slanted line. At this line is where I'm going to cut everything out. So these are my sleeves, and this is the piece that I'm going to cut out my ties and my pockets. Apparently it's enough for both ones. As you can see, it's big enough. And now let me tell you the plan of how I want to make everything. For the sleeves and the ties, I will cross that bridge once I get there. Now let me tell you my plan. So these are my sleeves, this is my back piece, and these are my two front pieces. So what I want to do first is join my back and my front right sides facing like so, and I will sew up the shoulder seams and then sew up the side seams. But before I join up at the side seams, that is when I'm going to be inserting my sleeves as well, right sides facing. And it's confusing with this fabric because it's really double-sided. There is no way to tell the right sides except through the hem at the bottom right here. So I'm just going to be joining them right sides facing at the armhole, and then I'm going to be sewing all the way from the bottom of the sleeve all the way to the hem, and I will do that on the other side. And something that I didn't mention is that I'm going to add just a normal collar, a normal shirt collar at the top, and then I'm going to bias tape the collar and the lapel as well, and then add pockets, and then I will add some belt loops and make my belt later, and I'll be done with my trench coat. So now let's get the sewing machine.
Okay, so the shoulders are done and this is how they look. So I decided to overlock and then top stitch so that I can have a clean edge on the inside, as you can see right here. So after the shoulders are done, now I'm going to work on my armhole and inserting my sleeves. So this is where my sleeves will go. After attaching my sleeves and doing my side seams, I'm going to work on the collar. So the collar measured 3 inches by 4 inches, and I'm going to join it at the center back. So the center back is where I have 3 inches. So once I've joined the center back, I also did whatever I did on the shoulders, that is overlock and then top stitch. I pinned it on my main body piece, and then I'm going to just stitch and repeat the overlocking and top stitching, and this is the final look. I love it so much. I made a tie, attached the tie hooks. I didn't do the pockets. I felt it looked more like a cardigan like this. I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye, see you in my next.